Yeah, but it might get. Yeah, you might expect the phobias to be separated at some times.
Well, let's find out here. It's game number 1 in our first match of the day. It's Twisted Minds still looking for a victory, and a TNC looking to continue the rise into the sky. And as we look at this already, early aggression, Yahui just showing face alongside Lancey here.
Yep. At the very least for Twisted Minds, we're expecting to see possibly a lot more participation. There's a reliable source of magic damage that, or damage, burst damage overall that can come in if the mid trio does decide to rotate together. Some Sicilians are clearly based on the emblem combinations picked up here by Hajizi as well. We could be expecting the aggression to come in from Twisted Minds, and that's also what we would like to see from them. But just the same TNC, I doubt we'd see Yaoi and Lancey far from each other for the entirety of the game. They're so fast, they're so quick to rotate, and one of their strengths is exactly what we're seeing right now. Their capacity to just control this river and be aware of the rotations coming in from Twisted Minds.
And the hard part about this too, for TNC specifically, is actually being able to, number one, catch Twisted Minds with the lineup that they have, but also being able to follow through. I mean, think about it. A Matilda alone is going to allow you to do that. Escalera also takes a little bit of extra protection running that Purify. But then, too, when you're trying to catch MP the King, this is the thing about Julian. He gets away so easily. So TNC, if they commit to either a pickoff or a setup with a Raging Sandstorm or what have you, they have to be able to actually secure those follow-ups and those kills here. And that's what Twisted Minds can actually do with this mobility that this lineup gives them. So the Turtle's going to go ahead and get pulled out by Zaida. They keep it together here. They're going to fight for it.
Yaoi dealing a lot of damage in the back line. Quick stand guard flickering out. Turtle, 3/4 of its health left. And the flicker in by Lancey. Pops the Infernal Pursuit. A lot of damage sent in. James secures a kill on the Lancey. Lord JM very low. Going to go down. Not enough damage on that Edith despite the ult. Lord still standing. Zaida and Yaoi holding their ground. Turtle gonna be secured here by Twisted Minds, and the punish on the Yaoi. Circling by Escalera. Not sure they want to pick this fight. That's a win for Twisted.
That's tough because, you know, I was just saying that. They're going to have to commit to those fights. And I guess at least for the early game, they answered the question, is that Phobius enough to stand front side? Well, it looked like it was.
Yep, and actually for that particular team fight, it wasn't entirely Twisted Minds deciding to start it first. TNC, that was a well-coordinated engage coming in from both Lord JM and as well as Yaoi. But of course, we've seen the flicker being forced out early on and Twisted Minds responding immediately to that engage. So TNC, they've lost resources prior to that fight, and Twisted Minds sustained overall. It was just too much to handle for TNC. Not even their lineup right now had enough burst damage to deal with all these members together with that formation that really favors them in that team fight.
Despite the loss on the major objective, I'd reckon TNC are still on course here. Zaida catches James. Lord JM, very low. Primal Wrath coming through. Where's the damage? James jumping onto him. Lancey from the flank. Can they finish the job? Zaida holding his ground with the Sever. Is that enough? Here comes Hajizi and Yaoi from the sidelines. James falls. That's a 1-for-1 trade. XP later's down. Yaoi jumping in, point blank. He's gonna push back MP the King. Close call, both sides.
Wow, Yaoi actually survived that, was trying to wait to allow Zaida to come in. Not able to get it, but Escalera, okay, he's gonna scout this out, but he's gonna go back. What a team fight there, Brick.
Yeah, in the normal circumstances, you wouldn't consider doing the you're using the Raging Sandstorm anymore to stay in that fight, but down bottom!
1v1, Kogan outplayed! Can't outplay! Yes, but not can finish it. Outplayed! Gets taken down! Yaoi took it personal!
The Ducati ran out of gas!
Oh my goodness, this is exactly what we've been saying. The fast rotations coming in from TNC, and for 2 consecutive team fights, it's that quick rotation and ability to respond which allowed them to not completely let Twisted Minds take the lead.
Time to go to the Turtle, says TNC, pulling it over. Massive man advantage. Other side of the wall. Twisted Minds trying to come through. Guiding wins by Escalera. James coming through. There's the take, the secure, and the shields. Yaoi's gonna get sacrificed here alongside Lord JM. He does get to back off. Outplayed in Escalera, pushing them back. TNC suffering a loss, but secures a Turtle.
Yep. At the very least, TNC complete all together in that objective take, just took what they had to. Checking out the items and the gold as early as now, it does feel like they're still trying to manage,
Oh.
but wait. Okay.
Oh, man. Okay, he keeps the turret together. But, man, as you were saying, you know, they get the turtle out of that, and you have to commend to what's happening here. They're still maintaining pretty much equilibrium, but it looks like Twisted Minds wants to make a play. They at least want to get this turret down. That they will do. But TNC will continue to farm around the map and find what they can.
Long-term trade here set up by Twisted Minds, despite losing men, are able to set up great on the map. Mid lane seems to be next up on the docket. A turtle up in a minute. TNC engaging via Zyda. They let go. Escalera keeping the border safe.
Yep, this is going really good for Twisted Minds in the early stages of the game. Aside the fact that Outplayed is actually able to play really well in the lane up against Kozen, and we've seen it earlier. They're actually able to focus a bit more of their attention towards rotating to Outplayed, and now it's rewarding them clearly. They switched up the lanes. Outplayed now up top. So for TNC, it's surprising to see that they're the ones being sort of read out. It's interesting because TNC for the longest time have been playing an absolutely clean early game, but now Twisted Minds, now they're up top too.
Circling Eagle set in by Escalera. Lord J might fall here, and he does alongside the turret. Clean take by Twisted Minds. Nothing on the board for TNC so far. Here comes the reinforcements. Down goes Lancey. Turned out for Escalera and James. 2 for 2 so far. And down bottom, Kozen untouched.
Good response. Looks like they're going to go ahead and just take their route to the turtle now. Kozen will go ahead and help them out for this, but it was a trade even there, and it was good use for Twisted Minds. You know, they had all that utility. They brought it up top, but then Lancey bought enough time to let the rest of the response come through for TNC. So again, all this leads to nearly an even game right now, at least at this point. You know, still working on some of the turrets. There is that turret advantage right now for Twisted Minds, but looking at the items, are they falling into place for both teams here?
Yep, so far, even just Yawi, looking at his first item, which is the Athena's Shield, it allows them to actually engage in team fights a lot more against Twisted Minds, since most or majority of their early game damage is, again, coming in from their mages, from their jungler and Escalera too, a bit of it from Escalera. So he's able to sustain it a bit more, unlike what we've seen in the first team fight during that first turtle. So now they're a bit more equipped to fight, and with that Sky Piercer pickup as well from Kozen, they're gradually able to find the openings up against Twisted Minds.
That's what allowed TNT to get this 2,000 gold lead here. Despite losing out a majority of the engagements, across the map, Zyzen has been doing work. The gold is in the right place for TNC, and they're dealing the right kind of damage and giving the bodies that can afford them to do this.
Okay, they're actually going to go ahead and just try to take this, but Lord Jam has to flicker out. Pops a Primal Wrath. They might have to respond.
Here comes Yaoi from the flank. 4 members of Twisted Minds respecting the propensity of the lover boy to get a fight from out of nowhere, and it just escalates.
Yeah.
You notice what's happening here too, right? They're continuing to put pressure on the map, and now they've gotten themselves a little bit of a lead first time in this game.
Yep, but Twisted Minds, they have to be extra careful, because even when they consistently rotate together and try to look for the engages, Yaoi and Lancey has that tendency to go for the sandwich plays, always make them think twice about wherever they're currently positioned up against TNC, because there's a chance that they can fight up against the 5-man lineup of TNC, such as now.
Yaoi engaging, using that Rampaging Sandstorm to retreat. Quick Sand Guard to survive. James jumping in, accepting the salvo from TNC. He goes down, traded out for Lord JM. Zyda holding on. Look at the iframes on that Julian.
Yeah, it saved MP the King so many times.
That's what I was talking about.
In this entire game. And TNC, once they're forced to run away, disengage, they wouldn't want to chase after them anymore.
And suddenly, it's quiet. This is dangerous. TNC's planning something. Zyda holding on to this small camp down bottom in that brush, watching the Lord get reset. And both teams just waiting for the dance to start. Neither one took the first move. Escalera spotted by Yaoi.
Going to spot him out for now. Again, it was positioning that they wanted to go for it. They go ahead and reform and recollect, but they know, honestly, at this point, it could go either way for the First Lord, and neither team wants to be the losers of that fight.
Yep.
Now, the focus could be maybe the mid lane turrets.
Yeah. TNC has to be extra careful, though. Their sustain or their frontliners at this point, even despite the Athena shield pickup, can be potentially easily bursted down by Twisted Minds, and that's been a trend since earlier!
Escalator down to a third of his health, jumps in to a death brush. Lord JM bursted so quickly. Yaoi doesn't survive, MP gets a kill, and the rest of them feel the magic damage. Zyda coming through, cuts a line between them and the teams forcing their way through. 3 for none so far, and it's a clean take for Twisted.
And that's exactly what I mentioned. At this point, Twisted Minds just can take on any person they decide to take on from TNC. And those were the 2 tanky frontliners too!
Zyzen holding on for dear life. They cannot change the fact that numbers are not on their side. 4 take 1, Zyda falls alongside that tier 1 in mid and that tier 2 in the bottom lane.
This is such a good game for an Irithyll, for Outplayed, because he's able to go ahead and just rely on his team to be at the front. I mean, look at MP the King himself, being on that front side. Lord JM?
And the flicker, the onward, the earth shatter, Outplayed falls, Kozin gets a kill. Escalera trying to de-escalate the situation, disperse TNC, and they will take Lord JM down. 1 for 1 the trade, Zyda following through, Lord smashes through that holy shield up top.
They gotta wait for this. They're gonna have to deal with the lore. They do.
Yep.
But man, what again, an interesting fight there, Brick.
Yes. That was a very decisive engage coming in from Lord JM and Yaoi. At this point, I think they're just accepting the fact that they have to just do their jobs, go in for the setups, and sustain as much as they can despite the very high amount of damage coming in from Twisted Minds. As you can see right here, it was just MP the Kim going on with those basic attacks onto Lord JM. And you would think that Edith would be the perfect fit for that job to buy some time, but even despite that, even despite Edith and its very own kit, Twisted Minds, just looking at the items, just looking at MP the King, you wouldn't want to go near that Julian. It's so hard to take him down, even also with the Rose Gold Meteor concentrated energy pickups. And most importantly, it's not just the iframes you need to worry about, even the Blood Wings, which will allow him an additional boost of movement speed just when you catch him off guard.
That's part of the problem here for TNC. They did just pick up 2 Sea Halberts over here for the lineup that they have, but it seems to be the problem is actually able to get through that sustainability, get through that tankiness that Twisted Minds has right now. Even for MB the King, again, this is what most people have witnessed and felt in their ranked games, and now this is the first time that we see Julian come through for the MPL Philippines match, and it seems to be working really well with the play style and the way that they want to work around MP the King. He can be a little aggressive, he can be a little forefront because he knows that, okay, I've got this kit, but not only that, I've got Escalera to get me out of dodge, and James, man, he's been doing work on this Phoveus pick, and when he has Vengeance available, he feels even more confident to just go 1 versus 5 if he has to.
Worst of all, Hajizzi hasn't even been touched.
Yeah.
Not once did TNC threaten the Sicilian, and he's sitting at 0, 0, and 11.
I wonder how many stacks he has.
A lot.
I can only imagine it to be even just 30 minutes into the game and nearing 200 or more than 200 stacks for the Sicilian. And even when MP the King decides to go up front, as you mentioned, he's not entirely the front line here for Twisted Minds. It's always James making sure that he's, to some extent, zoned out the members of TNC. But speaking of zoning...
Okay, is this going to be a reset right here? It's held at under half health. We'll see if either roamer decides to just go in. It looks like they're going to fight it out.
Dear God, down to a 10 Zyda with the clutch retribution. The fight all the way in the back. Yaoi barely surviving. Quick sand guard buys him a second more, but Outplayed gets his man. A roamer for the Lord. TNC happy with that trade.
A clutch Raging Sandstorm coming in from Yaoi, and TNC, a great decision to contest that objective since Zyda wasn't really behind either way. He was also level 15, so it just really had to, or he just really had to depend on his teammates and of course his own retribution. But Twisted Minds, they're just clearing up that Lord secured by TNC.
Yeah, they're going to clear that really quickly. again, it was, we kind of have to go for it, is what TNC was saying. Yawi was a sacrifice. They get that Lord, but I'm wondering what that will result to across the map for them, because still, they only have those 2 turrets down to work with. They're not going to be confident enough to actually push down either, because of the way that they can be displaced or even outmaneuvered by Twisted Minds. You can see it, 293 stacks right now in the Sicilian, getting up to that 300 mark. And it's really starting to show in terms of the damage that this lineup can do now.
Yep, even just imagining the wishing lanterns, those little butterflies.
Yeah.
That'll get to TNC. Even when he just decides to use a single Vats Feast onto the tankiest members, that'll be a lot to deal with if you were TNC.
Stacked on top of the glowing one, so there's a lot of trickle damage happening, and then suddenly the burst from Outplayed, the burst from MP the King. Twisted Minds, amazing damage profile set in. That's why they win, what, 4 out of 5 direct engagements against TNC in the 16-minute game.
Yep.
And he gets a Divine Glaive just now, so it's going to hurt even more so for the damage that Hajizi's able to pump out. And really, we're at just kind of a...
you mean both of them?
Yeah, both of them.
Both of them have the Divine Glaive.
They got it. Yeah, they both got it now. So at this point, that damage profile that we're talking about split between Twisted Minds' lineup is going to be difficult for TNC. Now, how can they overcome that? Really, it's going to come down to that next objective, the next Lord, in less than a minute away. They might not want to just completely, Yawi, go in. If he sacrifices himself and they're down numbers, even if they win that Lord, we might see the same thing, where they might secure the Lord, but if the 5-man from Twisted Minds is still alive, they would be able to just clear it out again.
You gotta start asking the hard questions here. Who's gonna find Hajizi?
Yeah. It's a difficult task for TNC, especially their damage dealers, since Twisted Minds, they're doing such a great job at blocking the damage. Even just James deciding to throw in his bodies up against TNC, looking for Kuzen. Unfortunately for TNC, Kuzen still hasn't died up to this point, but at the same time, those Sky Piercer stacks, you can't feel them as much. And at the same time, you'd be forced to run away just when you see James coming up at you. So there are so many things to be considered here if you were TNC. But of course, you'd want them to group up together. This is probably where we really have to see their team fighting prowess come into effect.
Okay, we're going to have to see if it does work out here for them. Yawi getting the vision that he needs, information to give to TNC. This Lord is crucial here. Yawi does take a couple shots.
That's way too many shots. He's down to a third of his health already.
He's
Forced
heal up.
to use a quick sand guard, and Twisted Minds here just waiting for the right moment to blitz. I would assume second to second updates on where members of Twisted Minds are coming from TNC. And I'm gonna say now, Twisted Minds, this is a Twisted Ube.
This is, I don't know what kind of flavor that would be, but man, also, bubblegum can work too. Lancey did take the Circling Eagle, he's got that, but it's still a push and pull between them. This is probably the closest thing we've seen to a Lord dance in a while between both teams, almost at the 19-minute mark for this one. It's half health now. Both roamers have the options, but also Lord JM. We have to keep an eye on Lord JM's positioning because he could initiate with a Flicker Earth Shadow combo.
Yeah.
Right now they're going to be pushed off here. Escalera does go ahead and use the Circling Eagle.
Pulls the trigger, so does Lord JM, waiting for it. James knee deep behind TNC.
Lord
and
reset.
there's a Primal Wrath. Yawi very low. James looking to finish the job.
Ooh.
Outplayed. Backs off. Yawi survives.
Yawi still alive?
Yawi's alive, but James will try and hide the rest of TNC with Lord James getting popped. That's a man down advantage for Twisted Minds.
Yeah, this feels like TNC getting a taste of their own medicine. They've really been a team that's reliable in terms of sustain, highest heal, average heal per game, but now it's Twisted Minds just taking charge of that so-called bubblegum ube, as you've mentioned. They've been so hard to take down. The sustain is just there, and this magic build coming in from Escalera too, it just shows their not afraid of TNC at all. They just can keep dancing around, and that high mobility is one of their biggest assets as well. That TNC just finds so hard to target, to lock down, and to engage against in a position that's favorable for them.
The Valentina's problematic.
It is
I
right
don't see
now.
what it's trying to do, man.
It is, and you're going to have to make something do here on the base defense. They already lose the mid turret. Can they clear this one out?
Lord marching in. TNC's compromised. Yowie very low. They do take down the Lord. Twisted Minds taking their time. Happy with that mid lane inhibitor.
We'll see if they can get anything else, but it might not be the case. TNC's clear is pretty good, but also Lancey is yet to take an ultimate for this defense. They still got to clear this out, though.
Slow roll siege. Escalera canceling the circling eagle.
Oh.
There's still a minion standing. TNC does the job.
They hold on to that bottom turret.
Yeah.
Great work.
Twisted Minds are really okay with fighting up front against TNC Pro Team. And even if you'd want to assume that TNC Pro Team would want to do the same, it's just not enough. Even if they get to close the gap, they get to go near either James or Escalera, they'd be doing it first. And they don't get to necessarily find the right targets. Outplayed and Hajizi. At this point, Escalera just has his eyes set on them. These are the players that I have to make sure are safe. And at this point, Outplayed no longer even has his boots anymore. He also has the Wind of Nature along with him. So if ever Zaida does get to find an opening, or even Kuzen, he will have a way to play around and still make it out alive.
Who needs boots when you got a bike?
I was going to say,
There's no need for
it's riding protection, man.
There's no need for Outplayed to walk fast across the map. Like, he's always with his team.
Plus, he's got sprint, and he can fly around,
Exactly.
too.
So this isn't even a liability for the gold laner on Twisted Minds. TNC, on the other hand, I'm still seeing a lot of, half-made items.
It is, and that's one of the things, though, is going back to the question earlier. Who is going to be the guy for TNC to find the right target? Because it's so difficult to find the right target. And honestly, the best one would be to find Hajizi. There's a conceal, though. It's going to be stopped.
Spotted out. Lord J about to get bursted. Flickering on out. Circling Eagle catches him, knocks him up, forces him to use that freeze on a winter crown.
Oh.
Down he goes. James gets his man, and the rest of TNC scramble. Nothing on Twisted Minds.
Even just James at this point is enough to threaten TNC. Escalera can offer the guiding wind just for him once he's done his job, because the range in Twisted Minds lineup is already enough for just that bit of damage that James will have to tank all by himself. Hajizi also just picked up the Holy Crystal right now, so we can imagine the amount of damage that's coming from this guy.
Yeah, we forced the flicker back. They're backing off. They can't even try to take their own purple. This is really, really hard for TNC.
This is going to be tough. Zyda's going to have to pull something amazing off if he wants to even try to steal this, but I don't know if Twisted Minds are going to give him an opportunity or a window to.
And he does come in, fails to get it. MP the King with a clean retribution. James taken down by Kozen. Yowie sacrificing himself, popping immortality to help the rest of his team back off. Zaida goes down. Lancey, the flicker in by Hajizi. Oh, he's left alone. And he goes down. Lord JM, can he defend? It's looking bleak. Twisted Minds coming in.
It's only Lord JM in a body in the sky, but that's not enough.
Ladies and gentlemen, Twisted Minds here to take their first win. Game 1 in Season 15.
And Twisted Minds does it, at least for game number 1.